Okay, so Frank Vogel, the championship Laker coach from the bubble year, is now an available free agent.
Yes.
Okay.
So my thing is, bring Frank back. BFB. Bring Frank back. Bring Frank back.
Bring Frank back.
Okay? Your boy, Russell Westbrook, is the reason he wasn't here. Russell Westbrook is not in a Laker uniform anymore. Frank Vogel is a good coach in this league. Okay? The Phoenix situation was a tough one for a variety of reasons. Injuries, the roster construction. There were legitimately earlier this year, especially when they had the injuries, there were guys on that roster who were not NBA players, okay? Early this season. And there certainly wasn't anybody that could defend at a high level outside of really KD. So that's also not built for Frank. Now, this team isn't the greatest defensive team, but they're not a bad defensive team. And I think that some of the Lakers teams they had here became better defensive teams because of Frank. I would consider bringing Frank back.
Okay. The idea of bringing Frank Vogel back to the Lakers.
Never going to happen.
It's probably not, but I would consider it.
I think that it's kind of like an NFL GM, like cutting a first-round pick after like 2 or 3 years. You're admitting your failure. You're admitting that you were wrong in firing him, right?
This is going to be an old-timey reference.
But
okay? Cappy will know it. Cappy, you remember Billy Martin?
Of course I remember Billy Martin.
Famous Yankee, played for the Yankees, was second baseman during the heydays of Mantle and DiMaggio and those guys, and then was their manager for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, many, many years because he was the manager like 17 times.
Yep.
He was hired and then fired by Steinbrenner,
Brought
and
back.
hired again by Steinbrenner, and fired again by Steinbrenner. So it's not like there isn't historical precedent for something like that in professional sports.
Well, George, listen, sometimes people get married, and then they get divorced, and then, guess what? They wind up getting back together.
But do you guys think that the Lakers as an organization, Jeannie Buss, and we're assuming that Rob Pelinka is still going to be the GM, like, do you think that they're the type of group that would be like, yeah, you know what, we screwed up, let's bring them back?
Well, clearly this is not even in the same stratosphere as an example, but they did bring back Phil Jackson. So, they have also a precedent of bringing back a coach.
Right. The only difference was Phil was like a multi-time championship coach.
Correct, of course. They're not even close to the same resume, but they have done that. Listen, man, there's not the word on the street, Cappy, is that the Lakers want an experienced coach.
Okay.
There's not that many of them available.
Okay.
He might be the only one.
Well, if let me just tell you something right now. If Frank Vogel is your coach because there's nobody else available, you've really done a very poor job, and you really made a very hasty decision with Darvin Ham. I will tell you this, George.
But do you think Darvin Ham is a better coach than Frank?
No, of course not. Of course not. And that's based on the number of years that Frank has been a head coach in the league. And it's also based on the fact that Frank Vogel was the head coach of the Lakers when they won the championship. And you know what? We can argue all day long of everybody who's listening right now. And some people will say that was an amazing championship run. And other people will say that championship doesn't count, or it's not the same, or put an asterisk next to it. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is he was the coach of that team. And LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Frank Vogel will always be connected, historically speaking, because the only championship that triumvirate has was won together between the three of them. But I will tell you this. I take great exception to what you said during that whole thing you just said. Mm-hmm. You said Brody's my boy. You said Russell Westbrook's my boy. No. Russell Westbrook was LeBron's boy. Okay? That was LeBron's choice.
Listen, he was everybody's boy. Okay,
that was LeBron's guy. That was AD's guy.
It wasn't just LeBron's guy.
Oh, that's right. LeBron and AD. My B.
No. And Rob Pelinka and everyone else who said, "Oh, that's a great idea."
Nah.
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
Go ask how they. Let me tell you something.
All right, go ahead.
Go ask Chris and the management team about how how the marketing part of that equation was being sold to everybody when they brought in Russell Westbrook, the big three.
Did you mean Chris like me?
Yeah, you.
Oh,
I didn't know that you meant Chris. I didn't know which Chris you meant.
I didn't know if there was like a different Chris.
Yeah.
Wasn't that sold by the entire organization as this big three, and it's a big year because it's a big.
Yeah, but they also told us Darvin Ham was the players' coach, and it was all going to be okay now.
Well, let me just say this, George, because I know we're going to hit this break, but let me just say this. Your idea is bring Frank back, right?
I like it.
Right.
Just for the mayhem of it.
Right. But let me tell you something. I have a better idea that will create even more mayhem for the new coach of the Lakers.
All right, how about you tell us that on the other side?
Okay.